Hey, tactical 40K. I'm kind of winging this one, but I've played a few games and I've got some we're going to talk about those games that I played. Well, I didn't get to finish either one of them. It's some circumstances came up, but we're going to talk about them and some of the things I'm changing within my Beaky Boy Raven Guard army. Some of the things that went well, some of the things that didn't go so well or as anticipated. But and then we got all these changes now that are coming out. The release of the codex, the leaks that have just happened, the nerfing of Oath of Moment, which is one of the good things about Space Marines that allowed you, because let's face it, a lot of the units they're pretty squishy when you're going up against things like Custodes or some Tyrannid aspects of the Tyrannids. And then those are I just talking those ones because those are the ones I've battled the last two games, and and one of them was more friendly, like the Tyrannid one. That there was not that much terrain. We're just like winging it a little bit, and I had to cut that one short. And I did some crazy things in that one just to see what would happen. But anyway, so Oath of Moment getting nerfed, that sucks. Anyway, so I played a game. We'll go into that first because this is kind of interesting. Because everybody keeps saying, Raven Guard hasn't won a battle. Well, I've won one, and Raven Guard isn't that great. Like this, well, what is Raven Guard? Well, they're Black Space Marines right now, but with Shrike, you get that Raven Guard-ish thing if you run some Phobos stuff. So here's what I've done, and I've talked about my list. I got quite a bit of Phobos units, but I've amplified those with armor, and then I've also got Shrike running around with Vanguard vets, which is pretty Raven Guard-ish. Plus some other deep strike elements. But we played Custodes, 2,000 point Custodes game on last Friday, and actually went surprisingly well. And I'll tell you what, he came there, of course he has like Trajan and the grav tank thing that's a beast, and then all those, basically his entire army has a 2-up save and a 5+ feel no pain. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff in that. And they have the grenade launchers on some guys that are just beast, and melee they're just something else. And then they resurrect guys it's crazy. I'm not going to get into their details. I mean, if you're familiar with Custodes, then you kind of know the units I'm talking about. But anyway, I played them with my list of Raven Guard. So I guess all the couple infiltrator units. I think I had an Incursor squad, Vindicar assassin, Evisar assassin, sniper scouts, lancer, executioner, repulsor, with tech marine nearby, a couple eliminator squads, librarian attached to one of those. What I've talked about before. What would happen was I actually we ended up having to call the game in round 3 because I had an incident with my daughter that I had to go and get her. But at the end of round 3, I was winning at the time, model wise and points wise. We were playing tactical just like you would in a tournament. But I mean, he was pushing up the board on the right side, but I was pushing up the board on the left side because I deep strike some dudes over there. I was trying to get Shrike inbound in there, because Shrike's actually, every game I played with Shrike and the Vanguard vets, he does damage. Like, if you can get him in the melee, he puts out, man. He's the surprising unit, because when I look at the stats, I'm like, oh man, if I get him in the melee, it's not going to be very good. But he does really well. But anyway, first turn, he sets that grav tank up ready to take out, because that executioner just looks intimidating. So he sets that up, but he puts it in a spot that he thinks that I'm not going to be able to get to, just in case he doesn't get, turn 1, which luckily I get turn 1. Oath of Moment, that thing. Unleash everything I have at it, and I scout up Invictor Tactical War Suit up there just to try to get into melee. So get up there, I shoot him, I get him down like half wounds, even with Oath of the Moment, because I roll really bad on first turns. Get my Invictor Tactical War Suit in there, destroy him finally in round 2, but I hold him up there, and that thing is not able to really do any damage to me, just because I guess his selecting of targets and me being able to move my units around a little bit. But anyway, my Incursors take the middle of the board with my Lieutenant attached to that. I have some Eliminators up there too that are like if you look at it from a tactical perspective in the military, it's a defense in depth in essence. I'm not going to melee these dudes out of existence because they're Custodes. They're just super good. So I established these lines that they have to go through to get to the next line. And as they're going through those lines, I'm placing fire down upon them as much as I possibly can. Granted, he's making all kinds of saves. It's really, really hard. Anyway, so I had another tactical war suit on the right side, went up there. It takes an objective, but then in like round 2 or in 3, I think 3, they finally get him and they get into melee with him, and he gets slaughtered. But my Evisar assassin took out a couple of those. They're like a kind of a Terminator. I took out whoever Trajan attaches to. Like I said, I'm not familiar. He takes out some guys. They take him out. Surprisingly, my MVP of that game was the scout snipers, which are going away, which sucks, because they were sitting back, concealed positions, shooting, and actually taking out, a couple of guys every turn. Granted, he brought some of them back. I deep striked in the back, his home objective, the objective back there, and was getting ready to take that and scoring. Like what did I score? Of course, primary, I was scoring quite a bit in the first 2 rounds. Then third round, when he's pushing up the board, I kind of lost a couple of objectives, but I think I drew like behind enemy lines and investigate signals in one, which I was able to get because I had Shrike over here on one side of his deployment zone, and then some Inceptors on the other side, and then of course I had my infiltrators go out there. And the other thing about the infiltrators, so they're also one of the best units that you can run, and granted they're 100 points now, but he thought he also had an assassin, and he was trying that Caladius, and he was trying to deep strike it into my deal. So he just pulled it off, and he's getting ready to do it, and he sat down, and I guess he forgot, and I was like, well, you can't put it there. And he's like, oh, why? I was like, because it's way not 9 inches. Like, well, infiltrator is 12 inches, and then right there I had another dude sitting right there, which then screened out, like I screened out my entire deployment zone. So he had to put that Caladius in a spot where it was just wide open, and I was within 12, like multiple units, heavy firepower. The thing was just going to die one way or the other. And then I had that center objective pretty much cleared almost. He did screen me on the right side. Like I said, he's pushing up, and he's going after trying to get to my Vindicar assassin. And I think I could have held him off, because what I did is I used Shrike's ability I pulled him off the board after we scored that one tactical object, pulled him off the board, put him in the reinforce, and I was actually going to just go ahead, Shrike Kamikaze, and go in there and see how much I can take down with some Vanguard vets, a full squad of Vanguard vets, and Shrike, obviously first blasting him with the pistol, then doing what needs to be done. But anyway, it was an interesting game. Had to call it right there. At the end, we kind of game played it real quick. It looked like it would have been close to a tie. He might have beat me by a few points if everything went as planned. I had some bad rolls, some bad charges with that one Invictor Tactical Warsuit. I could have got one, like in the second round, taken his home objective, and things would have changed. Instead, it was taking me another round in order to do that and score. I can't remember what tactical objective I had on there, and the ability to score that, and then also that one was worth a lot being in his in his deployment zone. Anyway, what I'm saying is, I know where Aim is the Space Marines in general, and a Raven Guard-esque type Space Marine that moves around the board quickly, that deep strikes, that pulls off in the strategic reserves and goes back into other places. They are effective even against a Custodes type army. I played the Tyranid one, which there was no cover or anything, hardly, a few things, and a shortened board. We're playing like 1,300 points. And in that one, let's just end it, because I had to shorten that one too, because my daughter, I had to take her somewhere else. So I shortened that one into like round 3. And when it comes to Tyranids, they definitely are a swarm army. And I found out that in my army, the way I have it set up right now, and the way the rules are now, it is point specific. It is a Raven Guard type army where you're hitting specific tough targets, you're picking them out. But against swarms, it's just not very good. So I think I'm playing Necrons this Friday. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to change things up. I'm taking out my Lancer, and I'm putting in the Reaper just to try it out. And then the other thing I'm doing, and this one is because the Invictor Tactical Warsuit, I'm going to pull their card out because there's a good and bad. There's things that are going on with that warsuit that has really got me thinking. The Invictor Tactical Warsuit is an excellent, it's an excellent unit. One, because it gives you, it's got a Phobos keyword. Excuse me. So you can do like some shenanigans with it. Two, because you got that scout ability. So you got an 8-inch scout ability right in the beginning of the, where is it? Got everything. I finding these cards or something else. But you got an 8-inch scout ability right in the beginning of the game or before the game. So you can get him up and pretty close. 3, which I haven't even used yet, is his like, what do they call it? Fire support. So if another Phobos unit gets fired upon, he can return fire with him. But here's the thing. So I've been running him with that twin Iron Hell autocannon. It's got twin link, which is good. It's good, but it just hasn't been doing much with -1 AP. To be totally honest, with 3 shots, let's say you give with strength 9, you're going against some bigger targets, or let's say those Horde army targets. 3 shots just isn't doing it. The main damage dealing weapon that I've had on the warsuits that I have with that twin Iron Hell cannon, autocannon, it's melee, and with the fist, with the strength 14, negative, with an AP of 2 and damage 3, it's 5 attacks. I mean, that has gotten more things done than anything else. So what we're doing now, excuse me, especially going into a lot of these Horde armies, or even not even Horde armies, just the way where you play the warsuit by getting it up the board quickly and its ability to do so. I'm going to try the Incendium, however you pronounce it, the cannon, pretty much the flamer. And that thing has got D6 plus 3 shots, it's strength 6, -1 AP, so it's like a flamer on steroids, essentially. And it's 1 damage, so what? You get auto hits. And then, granted, the range is 12 inches, but like I said, every game I've played so far with this, whether it be not even the Horde army, but any army, it's you get those warsuits. The way I've been playing is on the flanks, and they get into combat quickly. And that big gun has not really played all that well. I mean, I think I took out a Custodes model with it because he kept hitting his feel no pains. But I felt like, you're getting, let's say you get 2 out of those 3 shots, and then maybe wound 1, and then there's a D3 damage. I just feel like volume of fire is more advantageous just all around if you go to a tournament or something and you don't know who you're going to play, because at least you got their strength 6, which I think normal flamers, like if you go to the Redemptor here, I think it's like a strength 5, so you already got a strength 6 weapon. I feel like if you put a number of shots onto something, at least you can hit it. So that's also why I'm trying the Reaper out. It's got, of course, that's twin link, sustain 2 on infantry, and we're going to try that out a little bit. But granted, I have nothing bad to say about the Lancer, the Gladiator Lancer, and I haven't even been able to really, I keep forgetting that it has the built-in oath in it. So I think once this new codex drops, as long as this data card's still the same, that Lancer's built-in semi-oath, or like oath mini, is going to be even more valuable to the average Space Marine. So I still plan on more than likely playing that going forth. But we're going to see what the Reaper is, and then I got a Crusade games with the Valiant, and we're going to try that out. But for now, we're going to do that. Granted, the other thing is I'm not going to be able to use my Scouts, which were my MVPs, because they're going to Legends here soon. I guess I can still use them, but I'm probably not going to, because we're preparing for the Codex drop, and we've kind of got confirmed that those things are going to Legends. You're not going to see them, and you got the new Scouts, and they're probably not going to have they're not Scout snipers, so you can have a sniper rifle. I doubt they're going to have concealed positions ability. At best, you might get stealth if you run them like in the Phobos type detachment, the Raven Guardian detachment. That's what I see going down there. The other thing that I decided to run too, because of the Horde army, and this is an underrated tank. I'm gonna get the Vindicator tank. And I know you're saying, well, is that really Raven? Well, it's a Raptor. Raptors use it if you look at the lore, from what I've read anyway. But it seems like it can put down, you're talking about D6 plus 3, strength 14 shots, D6 damage, you can actually blast into horde armies and also take out dudes. But you use these things like I've been using in these games. These tanks put firepower out. They take a long time shooting. My games last forever because I'm shooting all kinds of stuff. But you're putting these volumes of fire down, heavy fire down, and they also distract your opponent. They're looking at these tanks and they're like, what am I supposed to do? They're coming at them. And that allows your maneuvering units, which I've talked about this, which I haven't had one yet, because I know I've said I'm going to do podcasts basically talking about military tactics in regards to this. But these are your maneuvering elements, your deep strikers, your infantry units. It allows them board space because these guys are so focused on these other units that you can go and deep strike in the deployment zone or get onto an area where you can really jack up their train of thought, like putting those inceptors back there because they're so focused on those other units. And I'll tell you what unit I've gotten people to focus on too is my eliminators, my bolt eliminators, the ones they can actually target, because everybody sees that as snipers and they're like precision, and it freaks out a couple of dudes, especially if you got characters running around. And they always try to take them out. It seems like every game I've had, they're like, okay, I'm going to try to take those dudes out. And granted, sometimes I do place them up at the board, but like this last game with the Custodes, I put them in the backfield thinking that I could maybe snipe at the Trajan character. And he was really trying to get those, even though they weren't on an objective or whatnot. And he was playing tactics. He's a good player, but it's a distracting unit almost that puts down some fire. We're going to try some things out this next game. I'm thinking about running a Phobos captain, and we're going to run him maybe with and then also putting an instigator on the sergeant and being able to move around the board, be able to deploy, then redeploy, and put in the strategic reserve some units or whatever, just to be a little more flexible, and then putting that Vindicator. And I haven't really decided. I think I'm going to run the Tech Marine around it and give it a +1 to hit, and then also might even put in strategic reserves or reserves. I think you can do that with tanks. My brain's for it. But anyway, a lot of good things to say, but I don't know what the Codex drop's going to bring us here. It looks like maybe the one so far, what they've shown looks like maybe the Salamanders one seems to be the best in my opinion, but right now we're still playing Oath of Moment, and the reason I'm taking my scouts out because that's confirmed. But Oath of Moment, the reason I'm playing that still the way it is now, even though we're looking for the Codex, is because also what they said because they're nerfing Oath to just hits instead of reroll wounds as well, is because they also mentioned that, or they insinuated that it's going to be a lot easier for Space Marines to have weapons that will have reroll wounds. So I'm assuming that a lot more units are going to be, there's twin linked and a lot of things have double, but there's going to be a lot more ability to reroll wounds out of some units. So I'm anticipating that ability to be more widespread within the Marine Codex. So therefore I will play Oath the way it is now, but I'll take out those units that are being sent to Legends. Anyway, we're almost 20 minutes. I don't even know what I was talking about, but I guess overall, Lancer's awesome. Invictor Warsuit, I'm still experimenting with. Great unit. Eliminators, kind of underwhelming, but they also do things. They can put some fire down. They can be up on the board. The first game that I won against World Eaters, the Eliminators attached with the Phobos Librarian were kind of my MVPs in that one, because I actually put him in the center of the board, and he kind of bypassed them because I had him up above 6 inches and they had plunging fire, and he bypassed them to get to my objective, which then he brought in some other units to the center. I was able to, after I whittled him down and brought down his prime marker down, I was able to then drop them onto the center objective. Librarian in melee slays a bunch of easy units and takes that. But really, I didn't do a whole lot of damage with the last fusils that I had. Like I said, I might run another Eliminator squad, but I want to see what I can do. Like, so I'm going to attach the captain to these bolt guys and see what I can do by trying to go character snipe a little bit, because I think the Necron list this guy's playing, I think Necrons have a lot of characters if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, a lot of thoughts on this, and looking forward to new codex, and we'll see. I'll chat with you later. I don't even think I talked about the points drops, because that affected us too, but points drops and points raises on certain things. Anyway, that's enough for me. Raven Guard is still, or Space Marines in general, Raven Guard is still the way to go. I'm playing them in a way that I haven't seen the other Space Marine players that I see around here. They're playing a more beefy list with Terminators and Aggressors and all that other jazz, and not me. I'm moving, I'm shooting, I'm a gunslinger, and then I have big armor, or what we call a military ass, rolling up behind me, softening targets. Anyway, talk to you later. Peace.